I'd like to call to order the committee chairs meeting on Tuesday, February 7th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. This meeting is being recorded by the committee chairs. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify me at this time. The purpose of this meeting is to prepare the agenda for subcommittees for council. No discussion or comments will be entertained unless requested upon by the committee chairs. Roll call. Do you want me to do that, or are you going to do that, Kathy?
I can do it if you'd like me to, and I
Sure.
believe Councillor Bullock just joined.
Perfect. Oh, yep.
Okay.
Hey, Mary.
Councillor Gwynn, President Gwynn.
Here.
Vice President Forgy.
Here.
Councillor Elmer.
Here.
Councillor Bullock.
Here.
Councillor Disorder.
Here.
Great.
President Gwynn, you have a quorum.
Great. I'm glad we're all here tonight. Just a couple things before we get started. My intention is to keep committee chairs rather on agenda to set agenda. Not a lot of long drawn out rehashing everything we're going to talk about in subcommittee and then rehash it again. And we'll talk about it at full council. I'd like to keep these as organizational and keep them moving. And I appreciate any input. I'm excited about the chairs we have this year. I think it's going to be a good year. I look forward to working with all of you again and in different ways. And I think we got a great team. And I really appreciate all of you stepping up and agreeing to be a chair in this year. So thank you. If there's anyone new to chairs, Marianne, especially, if you have any questions or you're like, all right, just throw them out there. This is about as informal as it gets. All right. I'll start with the president's notes. If Kathy, in general, do I just go down the president's notes? It's nothing that you go down, or how do we normally play this game here?
You go down it and
all right.
Tell us what you'd like to see.
Return to in-person hybrid subcommittee meetings for city council for training of hybrid meetings by committee chairs. Okay, so there's two things here. One is we will be returning to in-person hybrid subcommittee meetings in March. Is that correct? Or was it April and March is our last month, Kathy? What's the ruling?
So the deadline is at the end of March, but you had mentioned that we would just go back to in-person at the beginning of March.
Yeah. So that's our intention is we'll go, there's no more state allowance of only hybrid, only Zoom meetings. So starting in March. I talked to Kathy today, or I would say affirmed with Kathy again today, the training of the hybrid meetings by committee chairs. I'd like people to do that with Kathy as you can go do it. Instead of having a meeting where Marianne is away or Phil's not available, or if you schedule a time to go down and see Kathy, she can walk you through it. And that would work, Kathy?
It will. We do have to coordinate with the mayor's office because there are meetings in there definitely all day long. But even if on the night of their first meeting, if I go to the meeting and just have them open it, it's really simple. So much simpler than a council meeting. It's not even funny.
And Kathy and I talked to, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, even if it's on the night of your first in-person hybrid meeting, then that's fine also.
I have requested from Kathy, and she agreed that for the first meeting or possibly the first, she will help you get the meeting going, and then we'll disappear for the same reason. And we'll leave you a number if you happen to lose the connection or whatever, and you need IT, we'll have a number. They might not respond, and we'll have to have an idea, but Kathy assured us that it's not quite like when we're coming from John Zahn upstairs. And,
it's nothing like John Zahn. Yeah,
and
so much easier.
And Danny reiterated that in a conversation we had that it's available. So I would just say if you want a jump on it, contact Kathy. If not, she'll make sure that you meet before, and she'll be at your first subcommittee meeting. Phil?
Kathy, I'll see you next Tuesday, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And if anyone needs anything further, reach out to Kathy. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Kathy. If you're trying to schedule a time with Kathy, we'll check with the mayor's office to make sure we can get in the room or get that done.
Councilor Gwynn, Marion, Councilor Bullock has her hand up.
Sure, I can't see that from this screen, but go ahead, Marianne. Councilor Bullock.
Are all committee meetings at the John Zahn, or are they at the conference room in the city hall, or where are they?
Except for Ways and Means, which Councilor DeSorger can reaffirm, they're at the city hall meeting room. And Ginny, I believe.
One more question is are these committee meetings yeah, they're hybrid, so like anyone who's logged in can speak in both ways.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
If the chair allows it, yes.
If the chair allows, right. It's chair's discretion like we've always done. And my hope is that we have people in person also, like the majority of the committee. The hybrid is supposed to be used for the reasons that we set before. If someone's not feeling well, or you happen to be on vacation and you want to use the hybrid to attend your subcommittee meeting, so be it. But the intention is not to use it and let the chair be the only person there. That's not how these work.
Okay, and last one on this. I think the expectation is the chair will be the one who is always in person, opening the meeting and closing the meeting for hybrid and in person.
I would say yes, unless you're going to be away and you designate someone else to open the meeting and you're going to come in on the hybrid. I would just have them be the person. Kathy, no problem with that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We will be looking to get committee chair people key cards for the doors so that they can access City Hall earlier than members of the public would be allowed to just come through the door.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else on that? Okay, next was the update on the governing entity with the authority to approve the Community Preservation Committee expenditures. Kathy, we had a discussion on this a couple of times, and
yep. I'm not sure if the chair allows, the mayor may want to talk on this. Late last year, the mayor and I were looking for, rather than creating the wheel, a community that had a blueprint for us. We think we found a good one from East Hampton, but we have not been able to spend much time on it. Neither one of us individually have spent a lot of time on it. It's my understanding. Was that me?
I'm not sure what that was.
Okay. So we have the information. We haven't put a plan together for Greenfield yet. And I don't know if the mayor has anything to add right now. Oh, she's got her hand up.
Mayor.
Thank you. I don't have a lot to add except that it is on my list for this week, and it's really at pretty close to the top of the list finally. So I will try to give Kathy some thoughts on it going forward. But yes, right now I believe we are both pretty interested in how East Hampton did theirs, and I just need to potentially check in with Mayor LaChapelle on that, and then also just put it into words that would make sense to the City Council.
Thank you.
I will try to get that done this week, and thank you.
Tell Nicole when you're talking to her that Councilor Gwen said hello, class of 1985, Holyoke High School. So
I did not know.
Yes, she wouldn't talk to me then, so maybe she'll talk to me now.
She might now that you're council president, sir.
Yes, other than that. I just want to reiterate that once we get a direction in this will go to Ways and Means as it has to deal with revenue. So I'd like it to end up there, but obviously we'll get a plan. Does that sound all right, Ginny? Okay. Proposed to start full council meetings at 6 p.m. That came from Councilor Ricketts. Councilor Ricketts was wondering if we could start regular council meetings at 6. The problem, I believe, is twofold in that. One is Ways and Means, because that takes away time, and I don't think we can. Is that correct?
That was one issue. Last year, there were people that were working and people with childcare, but there are a couple of meetings, including this one coming up, that we'll be having Ways and Means before. So I don't know how it would start.
The before meetings for Ways and Means, I don't think there'd be enough time. Councilor Forgy?
Yeah, our Ways and Means meetings did not, were originally scheduled before, that was way back when, council meeting, but we've changed that night to Tuesday, and then whatever Councilor DeSorga wants to do, if she wants to keep it there or whatever, it's on a different night. It's not on the Wednesday night. Just want to point that out.
Councilor DeSorga?
Right. No, it's generally speaking on the third Tuesday. There are 3 months this year that we don't have a third Tuesday followed by the third Wednesday. So it conflicts with economic development. February, March, and I think November. So this one's looked light. I spoke with Clerk Scott yesterday, and it looked like we could probably do that before because there were just a couple of orders. And I spoke to Councilor Elmer to see if perhaps he might be willing to switch one of those. But yes,
Okay.
But occasionally it may be before. Just
I believe that before we speak, even as chairs, I think this is something we got to bring to the full council, because I'm not sure of everyone's life. You know what I mean? 6 o'clock. If someone works till 6 or 5:30 and they got to go home, I just don't want to make. I'll make a lot of decisions that other people didn't make, but this one I'd like to kind of get an idea if it would work. I don't have a problem with it, but there are people I know. There are times that some of us get in just in the nick of time to get things done. Any other thoughts, or do you think that would be the best, just to get an idea from everybody?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
And then we'll go from there. So, I mean, there's times that, I'm still at the office at 5:30, so it's tough to hit 6 o'clock. Except the FY 2022 COPS hiring program grant funds. Normally that would go to Ways and Means for recommendation. We're going to move that straight forward, as I understand, to full council for full discussion.
Perfect.
And I don't think we need to, is that Councilor DeSorga, I'm correct on that thought?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So Kathy, that goes on full agenda.
Got it.
Councilor Forgy, I have an examination of the police department budget. I know you've been working on this. Is there something that somewhere it needs to go? What was your thought?
My thought is it needs to go to Ways and Means. With the chair's approval, I think we need to review some documentation, some paperwork, some figures from Diana's office, so we can see where we are in the budget process at this point.
Okay.
So if it's okay with Councilor DeSorga, I think we should take it up at Ways and Means.
Councilor DeSorga, all set with that?
Yes.
Let's move that discussion to Ways and Means. The next piece is removal of both police and fire chiefs from civil service and request council order to be placed on the ballot submitted by Councilor Forgy. I've already acted on this. I was in communication a little bit with the mayor's office, and we are going to spearhead this and find out what it would take. Kathy, do you want to update the chairs on the thought from the mayor's office?
Sure. So I sent a quick memo out today to Dan and Mayor Rita Gardner, basically saying that the police and fire chief have to come out of civil service the way they went into civil service. The last time the police chief was touched was in 2003 by ballot question.
Put back in.
To put back in. The fire chief has been in since 1930 something. I want to say 6 or 8.
34. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that position was put in by town meeting. We no longer have town meeting. So, it can't happen that way. My recommendation was to have them as both as ballot questions. So we would be following a new path, setting a new precedence for anything to happen in the future. And I believe the mayor's response was that she liked what I sent and she would reach out to the city attorney to be able to get a little bit more information. I was questioning language on Mass General Law because civil service has changed. But again, it's the long and the short, going to, I believe, the attorney for his opinion. And
and the mayor indicated that this was a council request, and I said that the council will pay for that from our lawyer funds because it is something we brought forward, not the mayor, and we'll move forward with that. Once it comes back and we have an understanding what the lawyer has said, and then we will move it to the correct committee, which would probably be appointments and ordinances because it's going to go on a ballot. That's it. Councilor Ford, you seen you brought that forward. Anything else to that you'd like to add or question more?
It might be premature, but my comment would be, once we have legal opinion, my question is, who writes the ballot questions?
Legal. Yep. It would be, we normally, I know this from 7.7 and 7.8 and all of those things that we, and Marianne was involved in some of that too. We have to send it out, we write it, get it approved, get a lawyer to change it, and then it comes back in lawyer talk, and then it goes on the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Because our simple version of even 7.7 and 7.8 did not come back as hoped because of lawyer talk. So that's that. French King rezoning.
President Gwynn.
Did I skip something?
You skipped one bullet.
Okay. Examine the current police department budget regarding existing balances and calculating impact of staff reduction. This is Councilor Forgy. Would that be the same piece that you're going to talk about in Ways and Means?
Yes.
Councilor DeSorger, that's good?
That's fine.
Okay, let's move that to that conversation to Ways and Means. French King rezoning. Councilor Elmer submitted this. This is kind of interesting, Councilor Elmer. This would go to EDC, but it has to come from planning.
Yeah, actually, there's been some movement here. Apparently, the mayor has a new proposal that she'd like to submit to the planning board.
Yep.
And she wants the planning board to have some public discussion about that before it's and get some feedback before it's formally proposed, and then we start the clock and have a public hearing. So there's also some apparently some economic analysis has been done. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm hoping to get more information. It seems like we should touch base on that subject anyway.
I would just say that right now it's not our job at the moment. It's theirs, and because it has to come back from them because of the way it left us. So as soon as it starts showing up, it'll go to EDC.
Okay, I see the mayor has her hand up.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I just simply, for logistical reasons and having to do with being out of town, I believe the soonest the planning board will look at this is March. What I don't remember is whether it's the first meeting in March. They do two, whether it's the first or second meeting, but we'll update you. I just forgot to get that information from Eric today, so sorry about that. But it won't be coming, certain, obviously, it's too late for February, but potentially March would be the first time they would begin to take it up.
Okay. So
we'll
Councilor, we're just, go ahead.
Take that off the agenda.
Yes, shouldn't be on an agenda because you don't have anything to discuss till it comes from them because it's not originating with us. Okay. Policy for city councilors to request public records submitted by Councilor DeSorger. This was more of a question, Councilor DeSorger, correct? If there was a policy, was that the?
Right.
Just that.
It was I had two questions. One was about getting information.
Yep.
Questions, and the other was pertains to the FOIA request.
That will go. They're a little different in my response, but I will answer them both. I have been working both with Clerk Scott and Chief of Staff Letourneau, and we talked a little bit about procedures. And where did I leave this, Kathy? Because I know it involves Councilor Bullock.
So my last memory is that we were hoping to all get together to find out which would work best. I really appreciate and like what Councilor Bullock sent to us the day after the last meeting. I'm just not familiar with it, so I kind of wanted to walk through pros and cons.
And then there was a bit of there was a bit of duplication because there's another program that Chief of Staff Letourneau uses, which is, what's the name of that one?
No, I don't. No. I was saying I wanted to hear about Mary Ann's plan, but I was just talking about next request generally. But Kathy
that's what I was getting.
So
yeah,
I can show you guys. Like, can you do a screen share? Is that legit on here?
I mean, I know what it is. I just don't have time to set it up for myself. So I want to see what you do and copy it.
Yeah, well,
I know all about Google Forms. Yeah.
If I'm saying if the other counselors want to see what the option is that I have, I can share that and show you. I created a draft. I have to go in and show Kathy and Tammy just how to use it. But I can't share the link. I know I can't share the link in the chat. But I could screen share.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say work on this project with Kathy. When you get something that works, I will trust that it's going to work. And if you can then bring Chief of Staff Letourneau into the fold, so we're all on the same page. Remember, my whole intention of this is for record. And there's a nice outline of what we're talking about. Request goes in. It requests something. We'll get into this in a bit with what Councilor Bottomley had asked for. It'll give expectation of return after 10 days. There'll be a trigger that it's not been brought up, and that will then move it, and there'll be a record. There'll be a living document record. So when Councilor DeSorger comes to me, or Councilor Forgy comes to me, or Councilor Healy comes to me and said, I requested this and I haven't heard back, we have it all in a place where we know what's going on. So I think that's our best move at this point. Let's get this usable document in, and it'll work in every way to organize and make sure we're all no pun intended, on the same page. Councilor DeSorger?
That sounds great, President Gwynn. I think my intent with putting this out was that we need to just make sure that we get whatever information it is.
Oh yeah.
That it. I think I would sort of feel my group out, but I would think 3 or 4 days ahead of time to, you know, the answers to whatever questions, so that people have time to read the material. I don't know what everybody would find acceptable, but I know for numbers, I need a little while to look at them.
Well, yeah, this request will be actually the how we're going to do for public records request, you know, like policy,
okay.
big request. That's what this is going to do. It's when someone requests something that takes search and discovery and redaction and all of that to have a that. And then we go from there. But I will work on this and get a system. Marianne, maybe you and I can be in touch as this moves along, just to see how it all comes together with Clerk Scott. Clerk Scott, would you agree this will work in that way?
Yes, but I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
I was under the impression that, I'm going to call it Councilor Bullock's way, the Google Doc, it was more for a request for information. Public records is public records.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
But I think we can, public records requests are made in a different way because they're public records. This is for information requests, which is a bit different, but I think we have to be clear what people want.
Yeah. And Director Letourneau has her hand up. I don't know if she still has something she wants to say.
I do, if the chair.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Yeah, so Kat, when Clerk Scott and I met about this, you know, I wrote up a little bit of this, and she may share with everybody, but this, I'm envisioning this kind of 3 things. I mean, this isn't going to take out of the mix the whole, we all live in Greenfield, we run into each other at the grocery store asking questions stuff. That's obviously still a happening thing, still happens. You guys can be friends with department heads and chat with them on the side. This is because people often have similar questions, especially around budget time, where they're requesting additional information to back up the information they have in the budget book. And we want to make sure that, you know, Councilor Forgy and Councilor Healy and Councilor DeSorger might have the same question if they're going directly to department heads and different people we may not know. This will streamline that, so we get one set of questions that can be answered at once. And in terms of getting it turned back around, you know, we would just be helping make sure that gets done as soon as is feasible and possible. So to Councilor DeSorger's thing, yes, of course, in advance, if possible, or communicate back to you that this particular one is going to take longer. And then we envision, you know, public records requests are for things that are like, and not on an urgent agenda, not on an emerging piece of business, but just general public record information that you don't have access to. I like I said at the council meeting, I like next request. It keeps a clock ticking over us to make sure that it gets answered. We can collaborate in it without sending things around via email. It's all in one login. And so this is just kind of that in-between system to keep everybody organized, so we know who's getting answers and who's not. Or everybody is getting answers, hopefully. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And then we have them too. So like if Marlo answers one of a counselor's questions and it's something I haven't asked him and answered either, now I see it as well, or whoever here sees it, and we have it in one spot, which is great going forward.
Okay.
So I think, so now let's talk about Councilor Bottomley's request, and I'm going to talk like I talk, which is in general.
One more thing. Can we just go back? Just like for the sake of potentially having something by the council meeting for this topic, I just want to make sure. So what I created, just to clarify for you, Dan, and for the other counselors who request information regularly, it basically what it is it's a form you would fill out. It has only a few areas that you fill in. It has like the department that you're requesting information from, your email address, a summary of the information that's requested, a priority scale. So like how high of a priority is this in terms of timing, a due date that you need that you're requesting it by, and then an area for you to put like more supplemental information in there if you want to put like why you're requesting it or whatever. So it's like a very simple form that just has a few things you fill out, and then Kathy will get, or whoever, Tammy, whoever is going to deal with this, will get a spreadsheet that's populated with all that information, and they'll be able to put their own column in that spreadsheet where they can mark like, was this completed, who completed it, if they have any supplemental notes they put in. So there'll be a record of every request that comes in. What I put in there for test like language, just when I was doing this test form, was this form is to request information by city councilors to the city of Greenfield, sorry. It is requested that up to 10 days is expected for information to be provided except in specific circumstances. So the dream is that we would give 10 days if we can to request information. And there's also an area to put if you need the stuff sooner in there. But the dream is we would potentially be requesting 10 days in advance if possible. But so that's the system that we would test potentially.
Councilor Disorder, did you have your hand up?
So,
yep.
Yes. I put 2 questions on the COPS grant in writing, and I think that I sent that to both of you and to Councilor Bullock, a memorandum of understanding. I would need that. I would need the answer to that a couple of, like me personally, a couple of days ahead of time so that I could read it. And also the policy on if we have a policy on applying for grants that have accompanying, money that we expend. And so I just wanted to say that out loud. If I'm asking a question on something that's on the agenda, I get it. As the chair's agenda comes up, we need to have the answers to those, I would think, a few days before the meeting. So
No, I would definitely,
okay.
I would think would be the standard protocol.
Yeah,
obviously
totally.
we want,
Okay.
yeah, I want people to, getting something the day before, day of, should be the exception, not the rule.
Well, and alternatively, we know what's on the chairs, from chairs, we know what's going to be on the upcoming agenda. So theoretically, one could fill out the form at worst case scenario tonight, and then we have this much time till the next agenda meeting. I didn't see that particular question though, Counselor, and I'll see these ones,
Do I need to resubmit my questions?
I would say that
you know who you sent it to, so no, probably not.
Clerk Scott.
Okay.
It's twofold. Once we get this system down, I think, I'd like everything that's not been answered requested. And even in that note that Councilor Bullock said, you put, this is a request duplication that I made, previously following protocol, and then let's get it on record. That would be my thought. And then we, the answer might be already out there and didn't get sent.
Exactly.
Could have already been looked at or what have you. Councilor Bullock, that all sounds very good. Like anything, any living, working document, we all know in our business lives, it'll be tweaked, and we'll find something that's, not working on it or might be better. And you'll say, Dan, I think that we should do this or that. That's all right. And as long as one thing with Google Docs, that's available to us. You can tweak things. All right, moving on with, this is very specific, and I would rather avoid specific, but with the request made by Councilor Bottomley, I've been doing some homework on this, and let me talk about request for public records. And the reason that this is slowed down, and we all know there was a dollar amount put on it, The problem is when you cast a net that is huge, and it's going to take lots of information and lots of requests, it can work in that exact way where it's so overwhelming that it has costs involved. And Kathy will give us, she's going to give us an example because we have one on the opposite end of life at the moment. And here's what I'm saying. The Counselor Bottomley asked for something going back to, I believe it was 2012, which is vast amount of information. The problem is, in this specific case, because it was brought to me specific, you had the request. So everything that's within his request has to be researched and found. And then because of the department it's being requested from, it then has to go through redaction, every piece. So they find the information, then it has to go through redaction, then it has to be redacted. Then it has to be reapproved after the redaction to make sure nothing was missed during the redaction. Then it has to be printed and then collated and then presented. So if you're talking about something as general, and I'll change it as, any incident reports by officers since 2012, you could literally have 1,000 documents or more that have to be fourfold. They have to be found, redacted, proofed, printed, and done. And I was trying to find out if that was real. If that's really what I'm suggesting is now I'm going to talk generally. When we do a public records request, we focus on what we're really looking for. In a way, is there specific names? Is there categories? Is there a date period? Is there a trigger? Because when they're doing that information, all of that matters. Kathy, can you give me that example that is kind of interesting that's going on at the moment?
Sure. I had a public records request that we were working on last week that asked for, I think it was an 18-day period in January of council emails by a one-word phrase. So the IT department went through and pulled the emails. The IT department put them into a PDF document. I then got the emails, and then I calculated about how long it would take, for us to review, redact, and recreate, give the emails, provide that to the requester. And I provided them with a good faith estimate of over $1,000. That was emails from a 14-day period. And they subsequently reduced the amount of information they were looking for, which dropped it down to, I think it was about $150. And they subsequently retracted the request. So we, achieved nothing for that because they didn't follow through. They didn't want to pay for it. They, thought it was a little outrageous. But it costs a lot of money sometimes to get the records that people are requesting. It takes a lot of time and effort on the office's part to fulfill the requests. And people don't always get what they want. They're not always allowed to get what they want because certain information is redacted. We can't give out phone numbers, addresses, emails of anybody that's connected with a judicial branch. How am I supposed to know? So I have to go through and redact all those. So
getting back to your original question, Councilor DeSorger, about Councilor Bottomley's request, I think we have to, I'm not saying that he shouldn't ask because public records requests are public records requests, but I think we have to hone in on what we're looking for to make it reasonable on our point to request that much. And the amount of money, because I was saying, how can it be whatever the amount was. And I don't know the specific amount. I don't have it in my head, but it was over $1,000, I believe John said originally. And the reason would be, it's a big net, you know what I mean? And it was lots of information. I would just caution all of us to make real, you know, if you don't know what you're looking for specifically, and I'm talking generally, not on this case, then we need to home in on what we're looking for. Is there a key phrase? Even with that key phrase that someone asked for city council information, even with that phrase over that period, it was literally hours and hours and hours. And there was just, Kathy told me after she had done the process, she said, I just gave someone a public records request for nearly that same amount. I believe the request that John made would be 10 or 20 times bigger than that. You know, Councilor DeSorger, you're muted.
Okay, that information is probably all put together because it probably had to go to the post commission or otherwise.
No,
Regardless, my question to, I don't know, Danny, I see you shaking your head.
it's not. We didn't put it together. We would have fulfilled it.
But that would be fine. My question was, if a city councilor asks for something, we have $10,000 probably in education, et cetera. My question to you, President Gwynn,
No problem.
as the chair is, are we going to pay for it or not? Are we going to take care of a request that a councilor had or not? And that I thought perhaps that was at the discretion of the chair. Can you find a way to pay for something that somebody requested? I think the individuals might have been asked to reduce it already. It's not my request. I'm not actually sure what's in it.
No, I think it's a good point of conversation.
I think it is. And I think if we have, you know, it's January, February, fiscal year ends in July 1, you know, we're going to be turning money back. Can we find a way to pay for something that a city council asked for? That's all. I think I've paid for things myself since I've been in. I don't ask for things anymore other than questions. But
I guess my general rule would be, no, I have no problem. Like I said, we started talking about the civil service piece and we need a legal opinion. We'll pay for it. It's what we need to do. If someone requests a reasonable expectation of any department and the cost is not so crazy that it's, you know, going to get questioned, then yeah, of course. If Councilor Bullock came to me tomorrow and said, I put in a public records request and they say it's going to cost $100 and this is why I need it, and this is what I intend to do with the information, and this is why I'm requesting it, I would have no problem with that. I mean, as long as we know that it's within our purview of why we're asking for it. You know, if we're asking for information that is not necessarily council business, then I wouldn't be in favor of it. But as long as we're doing council business and it's a council expense, then I would entertain it. I don't think I could blanket and say, oh, we'll pay them all, because I don't know what that is. But I think case by case, sure, we'll pay for them. Councilor Bullock, I saw your hand.
Yeah, can we just use the same process that we have for the legal budget for this, where it goes to the president, vice president, and then if it's denied, it goes to the full council?
I don't have a problem with that. And I think that's a good follow-up, because if someone sent me a request for $2,000, I'm just saying I would have trouble using, you know, 20% of our annual budget without getting some kind of guidance, you know. And I believe that that would work. And the only thing I want to make sure that we're doing is that it's information we're requesting for council business or council answers, not necessarily because a constituent comes forward and asks us to find this. Let the constituent make some requests on their own. We'll help them and we'll do what we can, but we got to stay in our lane. But I have no problem with that at all. And I don't have a problem with that procedure where it goes before, and then if it gets denied for whatever reason, it can go to full council. We can discuss it on the floor. Does that sound reasonable, Councilor DeSorger?
Yes, so maybe you should put this one on the floor then. So, because it's been a long time, it hasn't been decided on.
I think I need to see what was requested, what and I think I need a conversation with Counselor Bottomley, and then we can try to move this forward.
Thank you.
Kathy has her hand up, and I feel like she might have something apt here.
President Gwynn,
Yeah.
I think we might want to look at the language in the ordinance that is specific to what the cost for education can be used for. It may need to be tweaked a little bit.
Okay. Let's send that to A&O.
The ordinance language.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at it. Have you look at it, and then
I think the A&O packet already went out.
That's all right. Just we can
for March.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we can, let's get that looked at. And if it's something that's, let's use that word maintenance, a word change, send it to full council.
Okay.
But I'd like Councilor Bullock to be able to comment on it before that happens.
Okay. And Director Letourneau has her hand up.
Go ahead.
I just want to reiterate what I said before, that if somebody from a council is putting in questions for answers that are pertaining to current council business, they shouldn't have to go through next request. They should go through the new tool through the clerk's office. But this went through a next request because it is a broader question. It also did happen to be, quite frankly, an exact duplicate of another public records request put in by a constituent for which the same answer was given and the same estimate was given. So you guys should look at the request and decide if you want to pay for it. But and I think that's a really good process. But I'm saying, as the person who oversees the department heads, I'm not going to make you go to next request if it's about something on your agenda. That's not what we're trying to do. And I don't want it to be misinterpreted that that's what's happening here. We're putting in process not to put up barriers. The scope of this particular request was not pertaining to any actual agenda items to vote on, and was a duplicate of another request by the public. And I just feel like we need to be treating people the same in some ways when they're asking for the same information. And that individual who did a request ended up changing their request, modifying it, and getting some of the information. And if it was information that just existed, we would totally fulfill it without cost. You know, if it was something we had already put together for post and sent to post, we would have done it, but we didn't. This isn't the duplicate of that.
Chief of Staff Letourneau, let me just ask a question then. So if Councilor Bottomley's request was a duplication of something that someone ended up getting information for, can that information at this point be presented to Councilor Bottomley in the meantime?
It is public on the next request system, and I believe, I don't remember at this point because it was January, I think, the last time we were communicating about this. So he might not know it's up there, but I think he was made aware of I can't remember if he was made aware of the duplicate request. But whatever the other person got was made public, not just requester. So we have these choices when we get public records requests, and whenever we can, we make the answer public. That way, if somebody else asks the same question in the future, and this is about any possible topic, then it already exists in next request. And you can just go into next request as a citizen without logging in and search documents. So you can go in and write the words police and see all the stuff that's been put up there, which is a lot in the last year, obviously, and see what's already up there. As in any person on the earth, you're allowed to do that. So that's why we like to put things like that that are of public interest or public requests. And when somebody puts in a public records request for something that we know we already fulfilled, we won't do it again. We'll point to the old request number, and this is where it lives. It's already out there.
So let me have a conversation with Councilor Bottomley. Find out if there's some of the information he wanted already there. And if there's additional information, let's request that. It might not be as big a net, and we can get it done quicker and more economical.
Exactly.
Okay. Moving on.
Can I ask a completely separate question, Dan? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Kathy. You go first.
Yes, go ahead.
Jenny, I was looking. Were you logged in twice?
So something happened.
Okay.
And I just got shut off. So I could be on twice now, but
You were, and now you're not. I just wanted to make sure you were good.
I got thrown at the computer ditched me.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Bullock.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's this like distinction that's been said about whether something is council business or whether it's not, and whether it's for a constituent or whether it's for a counselor to do council business, which like is all well and good in theory. But what we're seeing this year, because I can only speak for this year, is that business that is not necessarily business of the council is on our table.
Sure.
And so I think that in this case, and I can't actually even remember the specifics of what Councillor Bottomley requested.
It was the same as the other one you're aware of, exactly
Right.
Word for word.
Right, but it was because it had been elevated by a constituent that they weren't receiving it, that it came to the counselor, that he elevated it because of what was going on, because of what's come to us, because of constituents. So like, there's like a way that almost anything becomes council business. And I think in this specific case, I just don't want there to be this narrative that what Councillor Bottomley is requesting is somehow not connected to council business.
Oh, no.
Right, and I don't want to say that either.
I'm not saying that's what's being said, but I just feel like
It is, but
no
there is an insinuation that this information exists and that we are just not giving it up. And I'm telling you this, I am telling you, and you don't have to believe me, but this information, and this is what I told the constituent and I told the counselor, this information is not already gathered somewhere and we just don't want to tell you.
Right.
And as a counselor, a previous counselor, and as somebody who was here before the verdict as well, this amount of information that's being requested of city department heads and city people is unprecedented. I've started a time study of my own time, which I'm not even a department head who does numbers all day long, of see how much time I'm spending on this stuff, which is fine. And we should be doing that, but just keep in mind when we can't get to something else, what we're getting to. So I absolutely agree with you. I don't want to put these definitions. I don't want to put these definitions that says if this, then that, and now it's next request. My preference is that city councilors never have to use next request. But the amount of information, and I'm going a little off the rails here, and I'm sure I'll get talked to by the mayor tomorrow, but I am the one with the people coming to my door going, oh my God, look at these questions. I can't do my regular work, this and that. Like, we need to streamline this. And I know you guys need information to do your work. I've done this work. I've been a counselor. But this insinuation that we have been giving out more information about things like flying off the shelves every day than ever before, which is good. And I know you need it, but this insinuation that because we're putting up some processes or because somebody didn't get every single detail of their follow-up question to their follow-up question answered, that we're hiding things from you. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that is not what's happening. We are trying to put in a process that works for everybody so you guys get what you need. A counselor can call me and say, I'm looking for this kind of information. Do you think I should put it in next press? Should I put it into a Catholic program, what's in that? And they don't. I could have answered that question that this doesn't exist already to a city councilor who called me, but they don't want to ask. They just want to say they must exist somewhere and it must be this untoward thing.
Well, I just don't, I don't know about
for this
that.
particular case.
I don't know about that.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, point of order, please. We're discussing agenda items. We are not discussing topics.
Right.
So I think council floor is the appropriate place for this. We're trying to set the agenda, so can we just move forward? Thank you.
I will say we will move forward. I heard, Councilor Bullock, what we were talking about is more of a discussion item. I will say that we will look at things case by case. I don't want anything to feel that way. And we can talk specifically about, in a lot of ways, our job is to work with a constituent to help them get what they're looking for. I don't know if that's necessarily us asking for it independently. So let's see what we can make happen. Moving forward, policy for city councilors to request independent legal counsel. We did that, Councilor Chief, Clerk Scott.
It's on A&O to be discussed. It is on their February agenda. And
Perfect. That's, I couldn't remember. Marianne, you'll remember we discussed that policy and we just never voted on it or recommended anything. So if you can pick that up where we left off.
Yep, I reviewed it. It looks simple.
Okay, so that's being done, Councilor DeSorger. Potential sale of town-owned land, that would go to EDC.
Right.
First reading, 200,000, Ways and Means.
Right,
First reading to approve payment of invoices, Ways and Means.
right.
Mayor's appointments, A&O.
Yep.
We're now down to agendas by committee. Phil, EDC, you have,
That land.
and that's a discussion. French King you want removed.
Yeah.
Parking and bike lane.
I was hoping to get Jeff Saucer to come speak about it. I don't know if there'll be anything new, but there've been a series of meetings about parking, and there's another one on Thursday about
Leave it
the
as discussion.
Yeah, well, we may actually get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, if you're not voting on anything, it's discussion. So you can discuss whatever you like.
Okay.
Anything else for you?
No, I do think we need the planning department to explain the city-owned land sale. Yep.
So are you requesting the director to be there?
Yes,
Okay.
thanks.
Kathy, you want to invite the director?
The planning director or the
Yes.
planning
I
board
think-
chair?
No, the planning director, Eric Torog.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A&O, Marianne, you have mayor's appointments,
Yep.
amending the rules of procedure for legal opinions. And
Yep.
didn't we just send something else there?
Potentially how the education budget, but
Yeah.
can be spent.
Okay. And anything else that you're looking for on that agenda, Marianne, at this point?
No.
I think the agenda's already out, right? Aren't you
Yeah, I
already?
got everything. Yep.
Okay. The ad hoc committee, I'm not sure where that lies, Kathy.
The ad hoc committee has an upcoming meeting on February 23rd at 6 p.m. Still discussion. No recommendation or consensus has been forwarded on to us, but I believe they are having very good discussion.
Okay. CRC, Chris? You're muted.
CRE, there's nothing on the agenda. I've not been
Okay.
approached by anybody. It's also a holiday that day, so municipal holiday.
Just to tell the other EDC, the other chairs, we've had some discussion on CRC, and we've kind of reformed between Chris and I how we think that's going to work, where we'll have a quarterly meeting for general for CRC. And then within the year, we'll have 3 additional meetings with precincts. So one meeting would be precinct 1, 2, 3. One would be 4, 5, 6, and the other would be 7, 8, 9. And they would meet with CRC, and those would be bigger meetings that she would then put together like at John Zahn, and the precinct counselors and the full council could be there to watch and such. And that would make CRC meetings 7 times versus 12, and then have agenda. So Chris, is that the assumption? We're going to try to put together that schedule as we move forward?
Yes, it is. And just so everybody knows that March would be the end of our first quarter, because that's what we talked about, is holding these quarterly. And the piece is, what is there that people want to talk about? What needs to come forward from other department heads or the mayor's office or other counselors that that they want CRE to explore or examine. But that's the general game plan, is to do the quarterlies. And then in the ensuing months, we would go into the precincts, hold precinct meetings, both in person and virtually, so people could gather at a centralized location to be announced, and we could talk about what's going on in their precincts and what we can do to help them.
If we have them at John's on, we can then go hybrid, so people can participate remotely, even for their council. I would say, Kathy, can I ask you and Tammy if you could take a look at CRC over the last, year or so, and see if there are agenda items that have just kind of stalled, and get with Vice President Forgy?
Yes. So it sounds like we're definitely canceling the 20th.
Yes, I think so.
I would say yes.
And just food for thought, if CRC is at the John's on community center, will you be looking to have GCTV there? And who would be running the council equipment?
Councilor Forgy can answer this, but we haven't thought of that. So, that would be, that's me just saying, this was the brainchild of saying, how can we make CRC, vibrant? How can we make it inclusive? How can we get it to do what its intention was? And I think all these will work, but I guess we need some schooling on those things. Councilor Forgy.
Just thoughts for discussion.
That's fine. Thank you, Kathy. I'll be in to see you.
All right, Jenny, you've got quite an agenda as usual, and not that because we're here on Ways and Means. The other thing I want to start doing when we're doing our agenda items and we're having our committee chairs meeting is everything doesn't have to go on an agenda at the same time. I want you as chairs to determine what needs to be on in a given month for that agenda. Just because there's 9 things, they don't all have to be on there. Ways and Means is probably the exception. Councilor DeSorga, you're muted.
You're right. I am. I was taking a couple of bites in between. So that's why I was muted. So I actually think, this, I talked to Kathy Clerk Scott, and then this time we are going to hold our meeting prior. And so we're probably going to do the necessities this month. I will get through what we can in a very limited time. And the next time we may have request some more information. So we'll take the necessary things.
Councilor DeSorga, are you telling me then for the February 15th meeting, you will edit this agenda with Clerk Scott?
Yeah, well, we'll start the discussion on the police budget. If we don't finish, we'll take that forward to the next month because we're going to need more time. And
I would just make sure with agenda items, we have some stuff like appropriations and readings.
The appropriations would need to be first. Those two,
right. Okay.
Absolutely. First up to bat.
Clerk Scott, am I missing anything on Ways and Means, or are we on the same page?
I think we're all on the same page. We may want to have a conversation, Ginny, between you, myself, and Tammy.
Perfect.
I just want to make sure, in the past, I've noticed that we'll have agenda items that it doesn't need to be and this is hypothetical, it doesn't have to be a March vote, but we're cramming it into March when it could easily go to April. And then, if it's got a deadline, we'll get it done. If it's something that's not pressing and then you're as chairs determine when it's coming forward. It does not have to come to the very next meeting just because you finished.
Right. And I need to speak to, sorry for not raising my hand. I need to speak to the whole committee and see what night and times work for them on the times that we have to change. That's why I want to keep this one short.
Perfect. And that's also for any chair, and especially anyone taking over a chair. If you have to make alterations of your meeting, your hours, your days, get with Clerk Scott and your committee, and then just bring me into the loop. You don't need my permission. We just got to make sure it works. Clerk Scott, anything from you? I see a few things here.
So just to make note that the reserve fund transfer for the library that the council voted on last month, we did not give you the correct account numbers from the council office. It did come properly down from the mayor's office. So that process will have to be redone. My apologies to everyone. And before this is voted again, I would suggest that the council rescind the original motion that has the incorrect numbers, just for clarification on the books.
Just for point of clarification, the financial numbers were not incorrect. It was the document numbers.
It was the account number, not the amount to be appropriated.
Right. I just don't want people to think we gave them the wrong dollar figures, which was not the case.
Absolutely not.
Councilor DeSorger, I suggested to Clerk Scott that you just find the quickest way to get this fixed.
I'm with you.
Get it on, first readings and whatever we have to do in public hearings.
I'll talk to Kathy tomorrow.
Perfect. And then it's maintenance. This is a perfect maintenance idea.
And Clerk Scott, you do a great job. So no need to apologize again. Thank you.
Everybody makes mistakes.
And it's so minor, but I like the fact I like the fact that we catch these things and we're willing to correct them and do what we're supposed to do. Did you have anything else? There's the first readings. Is that that's it, right? Everything has been spoken for.
Yeah.
Is there anything else from the chairs? We went a little longer than I'm hoping.
Phil has his hand up.
Dan. Yeah, yes. I'm a little confused. Is the meeting next Tuesday? It's on the calendar as Zoom. Can we have hybrid even though it's on the calendar as Zoom?
So Zoom is remote for everyone.
Yeah. So is that what it is for next Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we won't be using the room then next Tuesday.
Correct.
No, we're still Zoomed right now.
But in March.
You'll be in February. We'll stay as we are. By March, we'll be falling out of state compliance, and I want to get ahead of the loop in case we don't. I don't want to wait to April. This is my reasoning. I didn't want to wait to April when we're mandated to have it and then be wrong. But in March, we're not mandated. It's still optional. So if we had a problem trying to convert over, we have a month to correct it.
And I have to say, I'm dying to know what the phrase was that they searched the city council email. Would it be out of order to ask?
Clerk Scott.
The word police.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bullock.
I have like procedural questions about chairing meetings since I do that tomorrow for the first time ever.
Okay, so I'm assuming we should have a conversation tomorrow.
Yeah. Kathy, I could come in at 9 and go over that document with you.
Okay.
And then maybe we could talk about procedural stuff.
Sounds good. I'm just looking at the calendar for tomorrow. And 9 o'clock sounds perfect.
Okay, great.
Councilor Bullock, also after you have your meeting with Clerk Scott, who knows much more than I do on all of this stuff, if you need me to be around your meeting, just reach out to me.
Okay, yeah. I'm just like, who takes the meeting notes? What documentation do I have to?
Yeah, you basically you get through roll call. Yeah, you get through the roll call and push the button to record, and you're in pretty good. And read your script, and you're good.
And someone else does the meeting minutes for me.
Yeah, all that gets recorded, and then Tammy does all your, does all the minutes.
Okay.
Tammy's going to tell you everything you need to know tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be there at 9 a.m. Sounds good.
Beautiful.
when I've been popping in and out of City Hall lately and visiting our clerk's office, you know, Tammy's got her headphones on, and all I hear is us, because that's what she does. She sits at that computer listening to us.
Oh, you don't hear everything she says. I'm just putting it out there for you.
I believe I couldn't stand to actually do what Tammy does. I'll just be honest. I see her with those headphones on. I'm like, oh no, thank you.
I don't know if everybody realizes how funny Tammy is.
Oh,
she's really funny.
There's not a paycheck big enough to listen all day to us. Oh God, no, not one. Anyways, is there anything else from any other counselor? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:11 p.m. That's enough. All right. Good night, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Well done. Thank you, everybody.